before I started the recording because there's no evidence, but. All right, so now we're recording. If anybody objects to being in the recording, please don't say anything. You can chat. That doesn't get recorded in the recording, but that does sort of linger in other ways. So anyway, I'm also going to turn on captions. All right, I think we're good there, and I can probably get rid of that. Okay. So what are you all seeing at home right now? You seeing the title slide and all that?
Yes, slide 1 of 23.
Gotcha. So I can do this too. I forgot about that. just so that you can see my SolarWinds shirt here, you know. So for folks who don't know the story, SolarWinds, you know, is a name that has become infamous with interestingly a cybersecurity issue where they imported a module into some of their code that got packaged up and delivered to a lot of other vendors, including Microsoft, and packaged up and delivered in products that had a security flaw in it. And so they, you know, it's funny because I don't think I had ever heard of SolarWinds until that incident occurred, but now I seem to see them everywhere, which is kind of cool. And of course, when I went to an event and they were giving out SolarWinds shirts, I'm like, oh, I gotta have one of those. That's you know, too good to pass up. So
you know,
so I grabbed it. Say what?
They use SolarWinds at a company that I used to work for, and I asked somebody, hey, how did that affect you, that SolarWinds issue? And they're like, oh, we're using such an old version, it didn't affect us at all.
That's funny. So, all right. So this is how to keep a secret with Azure KeyVault. Thank you for joining tonight. I am Jim Wilcox, and I'll be talking you through this. This is all about you know, the problem of secrets and one really cool tool for taking care of it. We'll be talking about what an app secret is and why you should care and things that can happen if you don't pay attention.
It keeps losing the signal, so you might want to get it on.
Oh, it actually, it's just that talking about the TV itself should be okay, but so basically, you know, we'll be talking about what a key vault is, what it's for, what kinds of entities it manages for you, and how to manage access to it. We'll do a bunch of demos, including creating and touring a key vault, and we'll talk about configuring from a .NET application and that sort of thing. So again, I'm Jim Wilcox, and you know, I get involved in community stuff. I'm a Microsoft MVP in developer technologies, which typically covers like Visual Studio and C# and Visual Studio Code and Azure DevOps and that sort of stuff. I help run events like this, so I've been organizing the .NET developers group technically for, gosh, 6 or 7 years now, though it's gone through a few different name changes over the years. I've also been one of the core organizers of Granite State Code Camp, as are several of the people who are here. We're looking forward to doing that again relatively soon. But in the meantime, we've got the New Hampshire Cybersecurity Symposium coming up literally next week, and that was sort of the impetus for this presentation. the idea here was to come up with a presentation that I could share with the folks at the Cybersecurity Symposium, and I thought, you know, what better way as a developer to contribute to a symposium on cybersecurity than to talk about a good way to help circumvent hackers in a connected world and that sort of thing. So so that's what this is about. And just a quick check, because I actually do see a couple of names in here that I don't immediately know. You know, I know a bunch of us are primarily C# developers. Any other particular, because if anybody's like a JavaScript developer or something like that, I can try to bring in resources for that as we go through the topic.
Yeah, Jim, hi. My name is Ralph Krause. So yeah, I do a lot of C# in the back end, but everything that I do for my front end is in Angular.
Gotcha. Very cool. So most of this presentation will be for C#, but yeah, there's definitely opportunity to take advantage of it from JavaScript using REST and that sort of thing. Though I got to admit, authentication's a lot trickier, but we'll talk about it. So thank you. Anybody else got any particular special interests or anything like that? Right. I'll move along here. Okay, so of course, what is a secret? This usually isn't a you know, a big question that everybody asks, but secrets, anything that can help a person get access to any kind of resource that you know, it's things like passwords and certificates and tokens and that sort of thing that enable access to those resources in a way that could be exploited. And so those things need to be protected in various ways. And so as far as that goes, you know, understanding that software development at its core, the very core of its being the reason why we write software is because things can and will change. And so as a fundamental sort of mindset about what software development is, it really is at the core of it, risk management. When you're developing software, you really have to pay attention to the things that are at risk, not just in terms of resources, but also in terms of change and that sort of thing. And as evidence, I sort of submit to folks that I talk to about this, if it were like not a risk, you know, if it were something ubiquitous and easy and not at any kind of likelihood of change, we would build it in hardware instead of software. So that's sort of, you know, my take on, you know, managing risks is that it's really pervasive to programming, both in terms of your actual algorithms and choosing how to implement, you know, your software, how to design it so that it can handle the types of change that are most likely to occur. And among them, of course, is managing your secrets, because if you're doing security correctly, you should be changing your secrets relatively often, just in case they get compromised. It's always a good idea to rotate those, just as a matter of practice and policy. And so for that purpose, a lot of people have spent a lot of time developing tools to do these sorts of things that key management does, and secret management. And so that's one of the interesting parts about the KeyVault, is that it solves problems that almost every developer faces at some point or another. And we'll play a little bit with the demos here. So basically, the KeyVault itself is a solution that is enhanced data protection and compliance. It's like like I say, turnkey, you can spin up an instance of a KeyVault very quickly in Azure. And you can also think of it as a global sort of source of truth for these kinds of secrets. So you spin up an instance and it supports systems around the world, wherever they are, nice and quickly. And it's a solid solution for that. One of the great things about Azure KeyVault is that it's more than just a software solution, even in the cloud. So as a cloud-based solution, you tend to think, all right, this is just software that's running in someone else's data center. But it's a little bit more than that. If you decide to take advantage of the hardware security modules, for example, they actually run these KeyVaults on specialized hardware modules that when you use it that way, that's not the default way to use them. The default way to use them is to rely on standard storage and standard encryption. But when you use the hardware security modules, which is literally a checkbox in configuration, these become FIPS 142 level 2 validated systems. So they're fully encrypted all the way down to the hardware level, and the hardware itself is also tamper resistant. So if somehow you did manage to find the KeyVault hardware that your secrets are stored on, and somebody managed to try to pry open the case of that thing, it would actually scuttle its own memory before it would allow anybody to abscond with your secrets. You also have the opportunity to bring your own keys, so the system can be like ultra secure, and you can apply your own cryptography keys, or you can click a button and let it generate them for you, depending on your circumstances. There are some places that just have to have their own security keys, and I find myself looking at some of the advancements in the Azure KeyVault over the past couple of years. It seems pretty clear that a few of these are literally military grade. They've pretty clearly added these features since they spun up a contract with the U.S. DoD. So, and we'll talk a little bit about those. So again, that this is a it's a turnkey solution. It's ready to roll. Within moments of hitting the button that says make one of these, it's ready to start accepting key value pairs and certificates and set up permissions and all that stuff. So it's a really nice solution for doing exactly this kind of thing. And again, of course, it's global scale. You can kind of think of it. I chuckled to myself that it's kind of a content delivery network for secrets, globally redundant and still hardware secured. And it's very cool solution as far as that goes. So let's talk a little bit about the kinds of things that a KeyVault actually stores, and a KeyVault will actually store 3 primary different kinds of data entities. So the keys are sort of your public-private key infrastructure type keys that you use to do things like sign, encrypt, authenticate, all of that stuff. You can store those in the KeyVault with special parameters, and we'll take a look at those once we get in there. The next thing that it stores is what it just calls secrets, which are just name value pairs. You can think of them as sort of a name value pair database at that point. And it's a solid way to manage just the classic password scenario that you've got. And of course, the third thing that it stores are things like your certificates, and the certificates are things to say like, hey, so-and-so trusts us to run our website under this name, and so you should too, which is, what a certifying authority does. What the certificate ultimately represents is, what the entity is that you're protecting, and certifying is who they say they are. So that's another thing that you can manage in a KeyVault. By far, especially for programmers, the big thing is secret protection, and that's mostly what we're going to focus on in our demos and stuff like that. But any questions so far?
Actually, Jim, you earlier were talking about the machines and they have the chips. This is kind of akin to like the TPM chip on Windows 11 type thing that they're all complaining about in the beginning. Does that make sense? Can't seem to hear you.
Hey, Marie, if you can hear us, we can't hear Jim anymore. I don't know what happened.
Can anyone else remotely hear Jim?
I cannot.
Me. Testing 1, 2.
Oh, there we go. We got you now.
That was really strange. All right, hold on. I'm gonna try putting the audio back to the big speakers, but can you still hear me?
So far.
Okay, so where did I lose you? What slide was I on?
Right after the question about the TPM.
I didn't catch a question about the TPM, so.
I can ask it again. So earlier we were talking about these machines that the software runs on, have hardware, specialized hardware. And my thought just came to the TPM chip that Windows now is requiring or Microsoft requiring for Windows 11. Is that the same kind of thing?
It's very similarly inspired hardware. So the trusted platform module in a modern PC does have similar characteristics. Like if you try to tamper with it, it will scuttle itself. And let's see, that was probably back. Oh, no, I've gone too far back here. So yeah, it is a similar concept to a TPM, but it's so that was this right here talking about the hardware security modules. Let's see.
Okay, that's cool. I appreciate that.
All right, can you see my laser pointer?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So, all right. Were there any other questions that I missed? I'm sorry. That was a little bit rough. All right. I guess I will push forward back to where we were here. So, okay, so we were talking about authorization, basically, what you can authorize a person to do with, so this slide was about the KeyVault itself, what you can enable, and we'll take a little bit closer a look at the the UI for this in just a bit, but so this is the set of things that you can do for certificates. So remember I said that there were 3 different entities that a KeyVault could help you manage. One of them was certificates, and for managing certificates, you have the ability to give either a person or a role or a group access individually to all of these different operations for managing a certificate. And then at a cryptographic level, you can also control whether a person can use a particular certificate at a very granular level to decrypt, encrypt, unwrap, wrap. I'm not even exactly sure what wrapping and unwrapping the keys are, but verifying and signing makes sense. And then of course the special button that they give for everything is one special operation called purge, which is, the bad guys have gotten in, press this big red button and purge the whole thing so that nobody can get it, or they can't keep accessing it in any case. And also, of course, for certificates, one of the big things that happens is rotation, and they're talking here about expiration management. So certificates are almost always given an expiration date, and 9 times out of 10 when a site goes down, it's because one of their security certificates expired. And nobody wants that to happen, so having expiration rotation management built into the system is a very nice feature. So for secrets are themselves a very simple operation, a simple entity. It's, like I say, key value pairs stored as strings, essentially. So the list of things that you can manage permissions-wise are, much simpler. Would also help if I didn't put typos in here, but I'll try to correct that before we present this on Tuesday next week. And of course, similar for, actually I said that previous one was our certificate. This is actually keys. So no, this is certificates. The previous one, I've got to fix that too. So apologies. This slide here where I said this is certificates, this is actually key management, not certificates. And I just realized that because I got to this one and this says certificates, and this actually is certificates. So this is also, helping you manage your certifying authorities and all that up your chain of trust for those certificates. So any questions before I continue here? Because I think this is where I start getting into actual demos and stuff like this, is where it gets a little bit more fun. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and create one and show it off, and we'll talk about all this stuff that we've already talked about. I'll show it to you a little bit more concretely. But to do that, I need to share my screen instead. So I'm just going to log into the Azure portal here. And in the Azure portal, I'm going to go ahead and look at my resource groups and create a new resource group. And we'll put this in East US 2. I always joke around and say the East US 2 must be newer, so we'll go with that one. Because newer is always better, right? Especially with computers. So now I've got a new, you can think of a resource group in Azure as sort of a folder to put resources into. So this is a new folder, and I'm going to put Azure KeyVault. Actually, Azure probably doesn't call it an Azure KeyVault. They just call it a KeyVault. So this is, where you get to set this up and decide what resources it has. Can everybody see this okay?
Yes, we can see it.
4, 1. And I'm going to put this in East US 2 as well. So this is where you get to decide whether you want a standard key vault, which is entirely software based, or you can go with the premium. I don't recall what the prices are for premium, but I've also never met a situation where I actually absolutely had to use a hardware, security module backed key. So that information is available in the documentation here. If you need to know, I can help you find it, but we'll proceed here. So a couple of these things are actually very new features. They literally just added these within the past week or two. As I've been building out this demo. It's the fun part about building demos for cloud-based stuff is that they always end up throwing stuff in there that's new and throws you for a loop and stuff like that. So this is just an extra couple of features that look like they were probably inspired again by the military activity and stuff like that in the government cloud. So, but I'm not going to worry about changing any of those for now. I'm just going to go ahead and create this key vault. Okay, and so this is still spinning up, but it should only take a moment or so. All right, and it spun up. Here is our key vault that we just created. We can take a look at the keys, and right now there's no keys, secrets, certificates, and of course the access policies. So by default, because I created it and I have fairly inclusive permissions in this Azure tenant, it has already added me to this key and given me pretty much run-of-the-mill access here. I can do whatever I want with this. So let me push this out of the way here a little bit. Hopefully I won't lose it on myself. So you can see these are all the permissions that you can give to whoever you want to have access to these things. This column is for keys. This column is for the secrets, and this column is for certificates. And then, of course, if you want to, you can delete the whole row and nobody will have access to it. And that would be probably a not so good thing. And there are other things that you can do with it, like configure the network and events that occur. And, we can take a look at some of these bits and pieces. You can set up an event subscription to say, hey, whenever, some of these things happen, then, throw an event, if you've got certificate new version created or secret expired or key expired or something like that, you can actually have it reach out and yell at somebody through a like an event hub or something along those lines, which is very cool. Any questions at this point? Y'all can still hear me? Just gotta ask just in case.
Yep.
Okay, oops. So I'm gonna go back to here and look at this demo again. Now, the primary way of accessing this thing is this URL right here. I'm gonna copy that to my clipboard. Well, I'll end up using that in a little bit for one of the demos. What I wanted to do first was actually show you that you can script creating these as well. So I'm going to bring up a command prompt, and I actually have this Azure command line utility installed on my system, and it's already logged in as me and connected to this tenant by default. But you can like really quickly say vault create, and if I just type that, it'll tell me what I'm missing. Visible enough here?
Looks good.
All right. So from there, I'm gonna say AZ create KeyVault create. And I'm gonna say location is East US 2, and the name is Vault Demo 2022-032402, because I've already created the first one. And the resource group is KeyVault Demo 2. And what did I forget? Missing, oh. Oop. Goofed. This needs to be resource. So this is actually going to go ahead and create another KeyVault in a scripted, environment here, or scriptable environment. And there's the details about it, so it's done. And I don't even have to go back and look at it. I can actually grab that same URL right here for this vault. So instead of using the first one that I created in the portal, I'm going to use this one that I created here. But I am going to go back to the portal and look at the new KeyVault that we created. And for the fun of it, I'm going to create a secret in it. And I'm just going to manually tell it right here, application text. So if we want to, we can set when this becomes effective, and we can also set an expiration date for it. We can say when it's active. Oh, and the value itself, I'm just going to say I'm just going to type it in right here. I don't have a particular value. I'll show you what that secret is in just a few minutes, because we'll have access to it. But now you can see in the secrets section for this new KeyVault that I just created off the command line is this new demo secret. And we actually, if we really wanted to get fancy, we could have our command line. We could actually create this secret from the command line and push it up in the same script that created the KeyVault. So you can manage secrets and keys and certificates all from within the command line as well. So, but that gets us in decent shape. I'm not going to store that in my browser. Thank you. That gets to the point where we're about ready to start taking a look at some code here. Now, for folks who are accessing all of this with like JavaScript and REST APIs, all of that is available by APIs. The hard part literally is getting OAuth set up so that you can authenticate. And there's utilities like the MSAL libraries for JavaScript that you can use to help manage that and make it relatively smooth. There's actually an MSAL for Angular library that you can use to log people in. That happens to be the library that we're using. Let me go back to my browser for a second. So if we go to the Cybersecurity Symposium site, if you hit the login button up here, this is an Angular site that's using a MSAL library to log into this this website, and it abstracts away a lot of the hard stuff as far as the REST API and token and key management and all that fun stuff for you. So makes it fairly straightforward. So let's get back to the code here. I've set up a demo, and basically I'm going to go through step by step here what this is doing. So what this is just a KeyVault demo that I set up initially, and I'm going to look at the app settings. And whoops, we've got a demo secret in the code here, and this is bad because 9 times out of 10 somebody's going to goof and like commit this to a Git repository, and your secret will be forever preserved in the history of your Git repository, which probably 9 times out of 10 somebody's done this at some point in their career. I'd go so far as to say you haven't been a real developer unless you've committed a secret in your Git repository at some point. So everybody does it at some point. So if you're a hacker looking for keys and passwords and stuff like that, one of the best places to look in the history of code bases, because you might actually find something that might not even be expired. So, but in any case, this is one of the very things that we're trying to avoid, is having secrets like this configured in places where people can just pull it up in code and view it. So I'm going to go ahead and run this anyway right now. Otherwise, this is just a basic API that uses a boilerplate configuration that I've kind of hidden. So if we look at this boilerplate ASP.NET startup, you'll probably recognize most of this as being what's in the minimal API services program.cs. So all I've done in this demo here is I've injected a couple of bits and pieces, basically these lines of code that are extra here. So what I'm going to do initially right now is just get the value of secret right here, which, whoops, I goofed. I'm going to start this over again. I hit F10 in the wrong place. Okay, so I'm stopped at line 8 here, and the value of secret you can see comes from the app settings.json in the configuration file. So we've got a couple of ways that we can manage secrets. One is to go directly to the KeyVault. And for some situations, you might have some secrets that are so important that you can't necessarily even put them in the general configuration. We'll talk about that a little bit in just a minute here. I'm going to step into this and show you what this implementation looks like here. Let me slide this out of the way so we can see just a little more. So what we're doing here is we're going to the applications configuration and we're getting that configured value for a key vault here now. So the problem with this is that this is actually going to an older vault. I want to go to the new vault here. So I've actually got to go back here and remember that URL that I pulled out of here that I don't think I still have on my clipboard. I'm going to grab it. And I'm going to paste it here. So this is the 032402 vault. So that's today's second vault. Okay, and I'm going to step into this again. And now I've got the correct URL right here. Okay, and this is very easily going to just say, create a new secret client, and then get the secret called demo secret. And as you can see, this is abstracting all the details away. I don't even have to log in because it knows who I am on my computer, that my identity is tied to my Azure identity. And this now has the value that I put in there, which is
So Jim,
okay.
When you deploy this,
but any questions to this point?
I have a question. So it's using your identity stored in whatever cache is local to your machine. What happens when you deploy this? What is that default Azure credential going to be?
Okay, so this is a little bit outside of what I planned to demo, but we can take a look at that. When you create an app service in Azure, you can actually tell it to create a managed identity for that app service. And the great part about the managed identity is that its credentials and connections and all that stuff are managed entirely in Azure in a way that there effectively doesn't need to be a known password. So nobody knows how it, I don't want to say nobody knows how it authenticates. Nobody needs to know the details of it. And so they don't give any opportunity for anyone to grab it, which hides that information all the way around. So I can sort of show you what that looks like in Azure real quick here. If we go back to this KeyVault Demo 2, let's create an app service. What is it? Just web app. Don't need a web app in a database. I just need, what's it called? An app service plan. Don't want this one. Well, I suppose I can do that one, but I don't really need the database. Okay, we'll call this a .NET 6. And why not give it SQL Azure here? Okay, so this might take a moment here to deploy, but so this solves the problem of when you have a resource that you need to secure, somebody needs to know how to authenticate. And so the first thing that most people do is they put the password for that in their app settings.config and or app settings.json, I should say. The problem with that, of course, is that now you're committing that to code. And so the next thing you do is you move that password to a secured resource of some sort. But then you need a password to that secured resource to get the password to your secured resource. So this is the problem that keeps occurring. It's like you can add layers of abstraction to secure your secure resources. Or you can use something like KeyVault and set up an application along these lines that that allow you to create a user identity for your application that you can then give permission to in your KeyVault. So none of your stuff needs to know the password credentials that are being used. That's all managed in secure storage in the host system. So I'm going to go back to here and look in my KeyVault Demo 2. And so this is setting up a little bit more than I wanted. I really just wanted an application. Those things will pop in here in a minute. But what I want to do is hopefully this won't take too much longer because it's still going. I was hoping that would be a little quicker, but I can show you a resource that has something like it. For example, this app service right here. Under identity for the app service configuration, if I flip this switch, this will automatically assign a user identity to this app service. And as soon as I do that, I can then go back to my KeyVault and assign permissions to it the way I was showing before. But the great part about having a managed system identity like this is that nobody in the world needs to know the password. So it's automatically out of your Git repository and in a place where no one can access it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
All right, so hopefully this is, yeah, this is spinning up everything else in the world except the app services for what I wanted to show here. But all right, we'll kind of get back to that. I'll move back to the code. So once we deploy our code into an app service like this with a managed identity, it will automatically pick up the permissions of the service that it's being deployed into. And so that takes care of that issue. Now, there was one other thing that I wanted to show you before I got too deep into this is, so remember how I showed this app settings.json has this in code here? Well, there is a way to deal with this problem locally without a KeyVault and without all this stuff. If you right-click your project and say, manage user secrets. So this is a locally applied secret. Okay, so this is, I'm going to go ahead and just change it real quick and then run this Vault demo again. And the one that we should get when we run it is the one that I just created. See, so this is better, but it's still not graded. The reason it's better is because in theory, this is not actually in code that you can commit. This secrets.json is a local file that's outside of your code base that's not encrypted, but it is separated. So it's a solid choice for storing this kind of information. It's also configured so that only you have access to it. So, well, like I said, while it's not encrypted, it is at least secured specifically to you. Any questions about that before I keep going here? All right. So again, we're back to this point where we've just started the application and we've got this secrets.json applied secret here. Now I'm going to go through again and let this pull the secret, and notice as I go through here, the place where this pauses to get the secret is right here. So this takes a second or two to go out through the network to that Azure KeyVault based on the URL, and that actually took almost 8 seconds. So actually it took a little over 8 seconds. So that's something to think about, is this is a single secret that took a fair amount of time, and, you know, just to say, but so if you look here, this is the value that came back from the KeyVault that we configured. So there are a few things that you can do to manage that a little bit better. And the better way to do this for performance purposes, if performance is a bigger issue than the secret itself, is that instead of going to a KeyVault directly using this kind of, you know, make a secret client and get your secrets directly this way on a case-by-case basis, is to retrieve the secrets all at once and store them in your configuration file. So if I proceed through here, what I'm doing is I'm setting up options for the configuration, and I'm saying, get the configuration that contains the URL for the KeyVault, and we can see we've got that here. It's got my KeyVault value here. Now I'm going to go ahead and create the KeyVault. Okay, and if you notice that took 2 seconds to create the KeyVault and pulling it into configuration. Your mileage will vary depending on network and how warmed up services are and stuff like that. But the great part is that now I've got all of these secrets in the configuration. And if I hit F10, that takes less than a millisecond to come back with that value, because now it's actually loaded locally. So you can imagine, as far as that goes, you know, we've got this value now retrieved from secrets. The advantage of this then becomes that we can do stuff like this. We can go into the, like, this is the boilerplate example, so I'm going to add it to the weather forecast. Anybody recognize this?
Never seen that before, Jim.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually use dependency injection here. Configuration, there it is. And I'm going to capture that. And I have a bad habit of just creating variables like this. And yeah, I want to read only there. So now we've got that, and I'm going to say, let's actually show what we've got in there. equals configuration dot. And I know that that doesn't actually exist, but I'm just going to tell it, make one anyway. I did click that button, didn't I? Oh. Okay, so I just on the fly created a new property in this weather forecast entity so that I can assign the secret to it every instance of it that it makes. So now if we run this, we've piped our secret all the way through. Oops. We've piped our secret all the way through from the KeyVault. I got to run through this, hit these breakpoints a couple of times before I get to Swagger. Okay, so here's Swagger. And if we run this, we'll see that the secret has made it all the way from the KeyVault in the cloud into the output of our API. So any questions at that point? All right, so of course the classic use case for all of these things is putting putting these resources like your database connection strings and your keys to your Redis cache and whatever other external resources that you need to secure and have available to you. And the great part about this is that at no point do you have access to a key or secret or password or anything like that that a developer doesn't necessarily need unless they're debugging or something along those lines. And you can manage your secrets across different environments like these with either there's a few tricks you can play, either have a separate key vault per environment or use different naming conventions for your key values. Probably best if you're loading, because you can customize the way keys secrets and stuff get loaded from the key vault into your configuration. So you can say only load the secrets for this environment, or only load the secrets from the production key vault, or that sort of thing. So there's different ways of managing that. So that's basically what I had for the presentation here. Now again the whole thing, just to kind of recap, was basically going over the what the key vault is, that it holds. The key vault is basically highly secure, potentially all the way down to the hardware level encrypted storage that not even Microsoft employees can get into. Potentially, if you decide, encrypted with your own cryptography keys. And it can also generate keys for you if you want it to. It supports lifecycle management for your secrets and certificates and keys and all that stuff, and helps you manage them by raising events for them. Gives you access through libraries like the KeyVault library for both JavaScript and C#. And so I showed how to create a key vault both in the Azure Portal and through the command line interface. And then we did some code demos here. Are there any questions about what we went over, or?
How are you going to share this recording? You're going to put it in the meetup, or is it going to be on YouTube?
Yeah, I'll share the recording on YouTube later. And if people want, I can make a gist out of the example code.
I think
So,
I had some network issues. I would like to see the beginning.
Yep.
If you can.
Yep. Well,
one question: Did you do a talk about Postman in one of the community talks? Was it you, right? A few years ago?
No, I don't think I would have done one on Postman, but
Was it Robert Crowley probably then?
Yeah,
sorry?
I have a Postman presentation I've done multiple times. Yep.
Hey, I had attended your talk, and I forgot there was one which you mentioned about how you can use Postman to generate the code in JavaScript in Node in collections. I think you did this talk maybe that was pre-COVID, like 1 or 2 years before. I think 2018 or 19.
Yeah, Postman has a code generation feature. It can generate requests based on multiple languages, curl, HTTP,
Yeah, and then
et cetera, et
yeah,
cetera.
and then you said you had some Node. There was some Node library which you can use to run post all that code in batch.
Yes, that's called Newman. I'm actually going to I'll post you. I'll put in the. Do you have access to the chat? By the way, I don't think
Yeah, I
everyone
do.
has.
I can. Yeah, I can. I'm not sure. No, I don't think I can. It says
Maybe on
guests cannot
meetup.com.
paste. Yeah, guests are not allowed to put in chat. I
Okay.
can give you I can just. It's mdhruv1 @yahoo.com. My first name 1 @yahoo.com. If you want to send me an email.
Okay, I'll post it in the meetup.com comment section. This Postman presentation I actually did at a conference was put on Pluralsight, and it's free. You might need an account, but you definitely do not have to pay for it. So I'll post that link, and
All right,
you
thank
can
you.
see that for free. Yep.
All right. Any other questions?
So one follow-up question, if your key is always safe, right? The credentials are safe because you're getting the value from the key, right? In the Azure KeyVault. So sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say in the case of running it locally here, yes, the system actually gets a secure token from Azure based on who I'm logged into my local PC as. So I don't have to know, and I don't have to see the token, and it handles all that for me in the API for the secret manager. And same thing with an application running in the cloud is the application running in the cloud gets a managed identity if you choose to give it one, and you can then assign permission to access different secrets and keys based on that that application identity. So all of the security details about how to connect and identify and authenticate and all that are entirely abstracted away from the developer in a way that they never actually see it and can't access it.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, I guess if that's the case here, I will share this one more time. And And again, that's primarily to just go over the last couple of things, just make sure that we went over the demos. I did the KeyVault CLI, the Visual Studio local secrets file. We created a web API and messed with this, the app in Azure Active Directory. These URLs are, good resources if you want to check those out. And then we loaded up the secrets in .NET 6 API into the config from the KeyVault. So if there aren't any other questions, I will say thank you for coming, and we will catch you next time. Couple of minor, well, not so minor necessarily. Again, this presentation was my first run through this. The real main event that this was inspired by is the New Hampshire Cybersecurity Symposium that's coming up literally next week. It's a 3-day event hosted right here at Manchester Community College. So that's yeah, you don't have to be here physically. You can attend remotely. So that's this New Hampshire Cybersecurity Symposium.com to register. And the schedule is up on the site now.
There will be some minor changes.
Yep, yeah, keep an eye out. Actually, I think that's mentioned here, but we got a whole bunch of great speakers and lots of great content and a very cool capture the flag that Bob helped put together. And
can you paste this link in the meetup, so we can also get it?
Yep.
Yeah, because we can't access the
I will
chat.
absolutely do that, and I'll put that in meetup.com, and I'll do that shortly after we call it a night here. But unless there are any other questions, anything else before we call it a night, or any other events that anybody wants to bring up?
I do not, but I appreciate the time, so thanks, Jim.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. And also one other final thing, if you found this meetup, the same meetup hosts Granite State Code Review Nightly. It's every night at 9 p.m. Stop by. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about as far as code goes. We're mixed box of what kind of results you get. It depends on who's there, but we'll do what we can to help each other out. And it's also open if you want to come and help other people whenever you feel like it. It's every weeknight, 9 p.m. US Eastern. So same meetup.com group as this meetup.
Every day, every night.
Yep, every weeknight, and it's been going on
2 years.
Almost exactly 2 years. We started out with the 2 weeks to flatten the curve and just never stopped. So
yeah, I know used to. It's too bad the Microsoft stores closed, right? I know used to give the talks in Rockingham. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we definitely missed the Microsoft store, but this is online has been working for us, and it's great.
Actually, online is better, right? Because you don't have to deal with the traffic. For some things, it's definitely nice to meet in person, but for like these weeknight kind of things, you're probably getting more attendance and more,
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right.
You know who you should get here? John Miner from your company, right? He actually did a really nice talk on Databricks and thing. He did it for some New Jersey group. I don't remember exactly. You should ask him to come and give that same talk here.
Oh,
it would be interesting.
Happy to. I talk to him fairly often. He sits within an arm's reach at the office, and I'll reach out to him and see if he'd be interested in it. This group tends to focus mostly on C# and .NET type stuff. But if that's a space that his presentation fits well in, we'd be happy to have him. So
Yeah, it's more on the data science side of it, but it is would be useful for everybody here also, because I know you do C sharp, but now with the data, everything is becoming big data, right? With
Yep.
IoT, it's again big data.
Yep.
With the yeah.
Very true.
So do you go to the office pretty much like once or twice a week?
Not terribly often, but it does happen. I was there last week, and actually, I probably won't be there next week, but yeah, it happens.
All right. Thanks for arranging this.
No, I didn't actually. I might be there next week.
Monday.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
But thank you all for coming, and hope you got something good. Again, this will be posted on YouTube. I'll mention on meetup.com where that's where that gets linked to. So,
Thank you.
all right.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks again for coming.
See you tonight, Jim.